And welcome back to the full roster of the TV show. I'm Jay Black, joined every week by Rhea, Hughes, and Angelo Cataldi. Angelo, back from wine country, looking relaxed. Angelo, you feeling good?
Yeah, I'm drinking this. It's not water though. This is Cabernet Sauvignon. All right. So if anybody needs a swig, let me know. Yeah, a lot of wine, Jay. That's a lot of wine.
Yeah, I guess that's why they call it wine country. I mean, if it was like wine village, it would be less wine. Well, you should drink, Angelo, because I have a bone to pick with you. Very rarely.
Be careful how you speak.
Yeah, exactly. There was lots of bones to pick on.
Yes.
Angelo texts me on Monday and says, I got a show we got to watch to talk about on the show. It's the #1 show on Max. It might be the #1 new show in the country that everybody's watching. I watched it. I have lots of words for it, but the word that I will say is abysmal. It was absolutely abysmal. It's a show called Naked Attraction on HBO Max. It is a dating show where you do it naked.
Let me. You're not setting it up right. And okay. I want you to understand it. We forced Rhea to watch it because it's a British show.
Yes.
And it's been on, Rhea, for 7 seasons.
That's amazing.
On Channel 4, which I guess doesn't have access for everyone. So the premise is that, let's say there's a woman that's looking for a date. So they roll out 6 guys and they're all naked, but all you could see starting the show is from their waist up. So the first thing they assess in round 1 are the 6 penises. All right. Has the world ended here? I thought Bupkis, the stupid Pete Davidson show, had reached the new low. And they're analyzing the penises.
So she's trying to figure out which one's a bigger dick? But
here's the thing now, all right? And most of them, I mean, I don't want to get too graphic here. Many of them are uncircumcised.
There's a lot of extra in those videos. Yeah.
One other thing you need to picture. I have an 82-inch screen, and they're coming in for close-ups of the penises.
Yeah.
That's a lot of penis in your living room. That's a ton of penis. So, and then they work their way up the body until you can finally see the face. And then eventually the woman takes her clothes off and you get to see her privates. And then they decide who's going on a date. I used to watch The Dating Game with Jim Lang. At the end they go, and everybody throw a kiss to the audience. This is where we got.
Yeah.
This is Angelo. You told me, you forced me to watch. You said, make sure Clark's not around because of all of the nudity. I will tell you how far I got. I was like, oh, this woman looks pretty interesting. She kind of seems fun.
Pretty.
And then they go, we're showing, and then there were 6 penises on the screen. And here, I will show you. I grabbed my remote and I went, no, thank you.
Wow, that was it?
That was it.
But here's the real issue.
Yes.
Jay just said it. It probably is the #1 streamer in America right now. Yeah. Another pun. But here's the thing. If nothing else, we know it's #1 on Max. So is this what people want?
Yeah,
I think it has something to do with the fact that people out there aren't comfortable watching porn, so they can get to see naked bodies without acting like they're watching porn. I don't get it.
Well, here's a question. I don't want you to have to speak on behalf of all women, Rhea, but I spoke to my wife about this. I was under the impression that women responded to penises less pleasantly than men responded to naked women, meaning I don't think women are like, oh man, I dated him, but I had to take a look at his wiener first. It just feels like wieners are not this, are kind of gross. Am I right in thinking this, that nobody likes a wiener?
Well, listen, I mean, Brett Favre got in a lot of trouble for sending a woman, a dick pic, basically, is what he did. And she's like, what? No. You
Right.
know, like it's just I'm telling you, Ange, the minute that all of those penises popped on the screen, I was out because I didn't want to look at it.
I
Women's
accept that.
bodies are attractive.
Yeah.
Oh
Men
yeah.
from the waist down, unless you're intimately involved with them, I don't want to look at six different guys.
I was,
But
that's the thing that I thought that women do, and I don't mean to harp on this fact, but like in the history of the world, has ever any woman ever said, "Oh, thank God he sent me a wiener picture on my phone unsolicited. I was hoping you would, and he did." Yet never, right? Not once,
never,
ever.
never, ever, ever.
No.
But there's a bigger issue here with,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the theme is shame. I felt shame watching it, right?
Yeah.
I shamed you guys into watching it.
Yes.
Right? Then I watched the show and I felt shame for the guys and I felt
Yeah.
shame for the woman who was dating, right? And all this other stuff. How did they get people to agree to do this?
Well,
Money? I don't know.
The
that's the thing.
first guy eliminated, they're basically announcing on TV that he has an unacceptable penis.
Unacceptable penis, the name of my biography, by the way. It's, you know what it is? I was thinking about this a lot, which is if you go on a dating show to begin with, you're automatically disqualified from ever dating me. You know, like I would never want to be with anybody that would agree to be on a show because obviously they're willing to do anything for notoriety. But I would argue, Angelo, that the appeal of dating shows in general is shame. In the sense that what are you doing except watching other people go through the awkward small talk and embarrassing situations that you go through when you're figuring out life with somebody. And the entire progress of the dating show format has been increasing the level of shame that we have access to. From it's the first date to now we're in the bedroom with them to now they're just stark naked on a podium being judged. I mean, I think this might be the nadir, but give Zasloff another couple of years. I'm sure he's got a team working on it right now.
You worked him in. It's impressive.
Yeah, well, it's a Zasloff production, right?
Unbelievable. Well, yeah, Zasloff is behind the decadence of television in our world today. You see it every week. If you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast every week, you know that this guy is bringing about an era of horrible television, and he needs to be stopped. Jay, you work in the industry. Stop him.
Yeah, but you know what? I make Lifetime movies, so there's an argument that I'm doing more to damage TV than he is. So I don't know if I'm the one to do the stopping. I'll just say this. I do believe that there is a revival of these dating shows. It is the most popular thing on Netflix. The new season of Love is Blind 5, I think, just dropped, and my wife was all over that. I don't understand it, but I kind of drop in, and it's all just drama, screaming, yelling, and nudity. So if you all have the stuff that we're embarrassed by, that's the one she is. And don't watch that show, although if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already have seen it because everybody has.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to talk to you guys because I just watched a 2-hour retrospective of Frasier, kind of breaking down the themes of the season of the show ahead of the reboot that's coming out. This will drop October 12th. This will come out. This podcast will come out the same day that it drops on Paramount Plus. Does the ahead reviews of this thing have been brutal? That they've done a revival of Frasier. My first question to you is, did either of you like the show? And if you did, in the last 15 years, have you been clamoring for a reboot at all at any time?
I loved the show. I actually thought his brother was funnier. Like I enjoyed the brother character. I loved the father. I couldn't tell you. I know that Perry Gilpin, who was in it, the one thing I always remembered about her is she's Jim O'Brien's daughter, which people are always surprised to hear, the famous Philadelphia weathercaster. But no, I don't know a single person went, oh my God, I need to see Frasier again. It's like, is there such a lack of any kind of creativity that they're bringing that back?
Yeah,
100% right. That's what it shows you.
Yeah.
First of all, Frasier was a great character on Cheers. He wore thin on his own show, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. His brother and his father were funnier and better. Neither of them, the father, John Maloney, has passed away.
Yeah.
David Hyde Pierce said no, he didn't, he's not on it. All right. If you watch the promos for this, you already know it's awful.
Yeah.
They got some young guy in there and he's trying to play off him. The real issue is creativity. Why is it so hard now to create fun characters that we can enjoy, new ones? We just had a writer's strike, you know?
Yeah.
Can I rip them now? Could you guys get a little more creative? Could you guys come up with people like my favorite character this year, Roman Roy in Succession? I need a bunch of those. They're able to be created. It's people, base them on real people who are quirky and weird and make it fun again. Because bringing all these old guys back, it's just tired.
Well, I brought this up in context with there was some information that dropped right as the writer's strike was ending that they're thinking about doing an Office reboot on Peacock, which strikes me as the biggest mistake you could possibly make because there's no way you get any of the big stars back on that. Does anybody care that Angela is now the boss of the Office and there's a whole? But I think it goes back to this, Angelo. You're saying why don't they make interesting characters anymore? I don't know unless you have a huge marketing team and a group of people that are willing to stand by your show as it finds its footing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get eyeballs on a new show that people, because there's so many options now, that Frasier at the very least comes from the last gasp of the monoculture, where people are like, I remember that show, so I will check it out. Now, if it was just Kelsey Grammer in a brand new show set in Boston called Kelsey, how many people watch that show? I don't think a lot do. So I think they go to the reboots and the revivals because it's the only way to get eyeballs at a time when there's so many different competition.
Let me argue with you because Succession, which, it took me forever to figure out, but it was a great show, had amazing characters.
Yes.
People watch that. How did they get to that?
Because that is a last gasp HBO show. And when I say last gasp, pre-Zasloff, where Casey Bloys, I think that's his name, is pronouncing it, the guy who was the steward of HBO said, I like this show. I'm going to keep it on. The joke about Succession for the first 3 years is that 1 million people watch every episode, but they all work in the media and nobody else watches it. Wow. And it took forever for that show. It's just like The Wire. The Wire nobody watched The Wire for 3 or 4 seasons. It came out on DVD and then everybody went, holy mackerel, this is the best show that has ever been on TV, or one of them. Very few shows that we consider classics. Cheers was the lowest rated show out of 64 shows at the time. That's how many were on. It was 64th when it aired, and they kept it on the air because they said, well, we don't have anything better. We'll go one more season. And people found it. There's not enough air given to these shows to let people find the audience anymore.
Good answer. You're right. And you know what? They got to have more patience because great characters need time to develop in the eyes of the public.
Right. And without being explicit, we are in a throw crap against the wall to see what sticks era of television, which is different than let's make the best show we can and it will find an audience, which is a different vibe. So nobody throws leap against the wall during the British segment because it is America's favorite segment.
There we
go. What do you got for us this week?
Well, this was actually recommended by Angelo's son, Neil, called The Gold on Amazon Prime, 6 episodes. So it's basically it's based on a true story. It's not actually, but it's based on in 1983, 6 armed robbers broke into this warehouse to steal what they thought was cash. But the security guards were so scared, they couldn't remember the code, even though the robbers threatened them by pouring gasoline on them and that they were going to set them on fire. So the one robber starts to look around and all of a sudden spots 3 tons of gold bars just sitting there because it was too big to put in the vault. So they literally make off. At that point, it was estimated to be 26 million. In today's society, that would be 112 million. So just
Holy man.
imagine, and it's 3 tons of gold bars. Now they have the gold bars, but now the key is to figure out what to do with them
Sure.
because they've got serial numbers. So they got to bring in a guy who's a fence guy, Kenneth Foy, who's played by Jack Lowden, I think his name is. He's in Slow Horses, very good actor who's in Slow Horses. So the robbery is kind of the least complicated part of this whole series because it's all about what do they do with the gold now, because they've got to basically, melt it down, get rid of the serial numbers, send it to Switzerland. It's all about the detectives trying to find them, track the gold, and these, bank robbers who literally stumbled upon $26 million and have to get rid of it. And so it's a really interesting story for both sides. The detectives, how they're trying to track the gold, and the thieves who are trying to figure out how to turn the gold into cash they can actually use. So it's really it's 6 episodes. I'm almost finished the 5th episode, and I love it. I mean, it's really fascinating.
So Rhea, this is a caper series, right? I love a caper, a great caper. Like the Ocean's 11 series.
Sure.
Those are great. I'm a sucker for that kind of story.
Well, the caper we always think is the actual robbery. The robbery, I'm not giving anything away. It's the first scene in the show, because the caper is how they go about turning the gold into cash.
Right.
It's insane. I mean, the levels of steps that you have to take. That's the wild part of this whole story. That's what I loved about it.
Sounds great.
Hey, I heard
my son, he's good with British TV. We got a lot of British TV. Now, so far, just so you know, The Gold is getting a recommendation. Naked Attraction is not. There's a both British show. So be careful what you watch with British television.
And just to compliment your son, I was listening to another TV podcast and they were reviewing The Gold. And I had his thought like, oh, we should probably do that. That sounds like something up Rhea's alley. Yeah. And then as you mentioned, I was like, oh, that's the one that Angelo's son recommended. So I didn't even have to bring it up. So that's good stuff on your son's part.
Hugh Bonneville's in it too, and he's terrific.
What do you got for us this week on Teen Corner?
Excuse me, I feel like I'm getting a cold. Maybe, Angelo, you gave me your cold through the podcast. So Clark and I started watching a show. We kind of stumbled upon it this weekend. So we're only about 5 episodes in. It's a show that's been out. It's called All American. It originally aired on the CW, but you can get it on Netflix. It's basically, this kid is at South Crenshaw High in LA, and he gets recruited to come play for Beverly Hills High, the much nicer, more expensive school. And he's got to leave, the gang-ridden neighborhood, leave his best friend Coop behind. The kid who plays Daniel Ezra is the lead. He's terrific. I love Coop. Tay Diggs is the coach. It's almost like somebody described it as All American is Friday Night Lights meets the OC.
Wow.
So far we like it.
Wow.
I apologize. But it's it in the beginning it's kind of a little cliche ridden, but as the characters start to develop, you really start to like them. Spence and his best friend Coop, I love them. They have a really good chemistry together. Coop, just like is a girl. So but it's just really fascinating. Tay Diggs is great as the coach. So I like it a lot.
And it's on Netflix right now, which is a lot of shows are doing that. I don't know if you saw, a lot of HBO shows are now showing up on Netflix because they've decided that Netflix is the new syndication. So we're seeing a lot of older shows go on there, which is great. We've seen Suits blow up this summer. This might be the next Suits. So, and the name of it is All American.
It's called All American. So it's about a kid who plays football. He's a great receiver. And obviously they want him to come play for Beverly Hills because the program's kind of fallen down and he'll be a star. So they kind of recruit him. So it deals with a lot of stuff. I mean, it shies away from nothing: race, class issues, sexuality, all kinds of stuff. But it was, I would say like 14, 15 for teens. Clark likes it.
Well, I believe that the Beverly Hills has gone down ever since Steve Sanders from Beverly Hills 90210 left the team. He was a 35-year-old college or high school senior, and he had to go That's the big fallout. Now, Angelo, I hope
Yeah,
you have something to redeem yourself
I
after
have
that
something great.
catastrophe. Okay,
I
'cause
have something great, but I
Okay.
know I'm going to get some pushback right away from Rhea. Rhea knows this because we worked together for a quarter of a century. I was a vocal critic of soccer. I
Yes.
do not want people listening to this podcast to think I have suddenly become a big fan of it, because I have supported Welcome to Wrentham,
Yep.
which is Wrexham, which is a really good show, having a so-so second season. And now I'm going to recommend something that also applies to soccer, but much bigger than soccer. This is, my wife is infatuated with it. It's on Netflix. It's called Beckham. You're
Yes.
smiling, Rhea. Have you
Yep.
watched?
I've seen a couple episodes. I think it's phenomenal.
It's mind-bogglingly
Yep.
good. And here's why. I'm going to put it in Philadelphia sports terms. We have often been accused of being rude, obnoxious, nasty fans.
Yep.
When you see at the end of episode 1 and episode 2 what the fans of English soccer do to David Beckham, you have never seen anything like this in your life. Rhea,
wow.
First of all, this better illustrates than anything I've ever seen the passion that Europe has for soccer.
Oh, yeah.
It's bigger than anything we've seen.
It's way bigger.
Because
They have their own name, Ange. They call them hooligans. I mean, they actually call them hooligans.
Vicious
Yeah.
people.
Angelo,
It goes beyond the field. It's into their personal lives.
is this like footage from before, or is it like
yes.
contemporary, like what they're currently?
Great footage, no reenactment, great footage, because let me just say, he's an extremely good-looking guy.
Yes, he is.
Whole relationship with Posh Spice, who really
Which started on the soccer field. I didn't realize they met because she came to a soccer game.
It is such a great, you don't have to like anything about soccer to love the story.
It's really good.
What this guy went through, his entire narrative of his entire career, it's absolutely mind-boggling. It's one of the best. You know what I want to do to my next week, Jay? I want to deal with the issue of why the batting average for documentaries is so much higher than the batting average for fiction.
100%. Let's chat.
Why is that? Because I find almost all the stuff I'm enjoying now on television has a documentary. It's connected to documentary in some way. And this is right up there with Michael J. Fox. This is up there with the best things I've seen. And it may be the best sports documentary I've seen in ages. It's great. And you will love it.
I've seen the clip that was
watching it. Rhea, you don't even like soccer, right? What made you
no. Because I've always been fascinated with their relationship. You know, they're two of the biggest stars in the entire world. And, you know, and he had an affair situation that probably should have train wrecked them.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've got four kids. They've been together forever. I'm fascinated how they've remained together, but you kind of see why. They've kind of grown up together, and the level of fame that they have to deal with, they both understand because they're both superstars.
Well, maybe you haven't got there. They deal with that whole scandal, and they do it great, and they really show you how they survived it. It's just fantastic. It never slows down. Right to the end, it's great. And I don't think you could do better right now on television than to see Beckham.
I'm going to watch that with my wife when she gets home, because I did see the clip that was floating around where Posh was trying to explain how she grew up working class, and David's head pops in and goes, "What did you go to school in? What did your dad drop you off to school in?" Yeah. And they go back and forth, and finally he was like, "A Bentley," and he was like, "Thank you." That went viral. Which I
think it was Rolls Royce, but
Rolls Royce, yeah. All right, so I have a review of a Marvel show, which, Angelo, if you want to leave the podcast now, I'll understand.
I'm out.
I have fallen out of the Marvel and Star Wars cycle, because as much as I'm a geek and I love all that stuff, it has become onerous to follow it all. You know, when it was just movies, you could hype yourself up for each movie. But now that there's movies and 38 TV shows every year, kind of almost feels like homework. That said, Loki, which was one of the early 2021 Disney streamers of the Marvel Universe, was a top tier one. So I revisited it when it came out. And I hate to say something like this because they spend millions and millions of dollars and they get the top-notch talent. And here's what I'm going to say. Pretty good. It feels dismissive when so much energy is put into it. The plot line is overwrought because it has to fit in with the overarching scheme of the Marvel Universe. They got a lot going on. Jonathan Majors, who plays the Heavy, has had a lot of personal issues, and nobody knows for sure if he's going to stay the Heavy. This is why it's maybe not a good idea to cast your Heavy for the movie in 2026 now, because you don't know how it's going to shake out. Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston are great. I always get his name wrong, so I want to look it up. What's his name? Ke Huy Quan from Everything Everywhere All at Once plays a fairly significant role in it. They're great. There's one really interesting thing where Loki is moving backwards and forwards in time, and we're having a conversation in the past while Owen Wilson's having a conversation in the future, and the stuff that Loki's in the past saying affects the future. That was clever. It's pretty good. If you want to watch it with your son, Rhea, you're not going to dislike it because Loki...
I can't do the multiverse thing. I'm too confused. You just confused me trying to explain what was happening.
Yeah. And
when I went to the movies and watched that multiverse with Clark, I was clueless.
If I had to make my guess, if I was Kevin Feige right now, like sometimes I'll write a script and I'll get to the middle of Act 2 and I'll realize I didn't set up everything correctly and it's too hard to follow. So I throw the script away. The problem is Kevin Feige's 19 movies into this script, so he doesn't know how to throw it away. I don't know how they write themselves out of it, but it's not a bad time. That is my review.
Where is
there
it?
You go.
It's on Disney Plus. Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. All right, let me just say, I haven't had any wine since I came back. I'm going to chug a whole bottle after listening to that. Let me go over where we are here. If you want to see something horrible, Naked Attraction is available on Max. Frasier Network TV, I'm not even sure where it is.
Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus.
All right, okay. And The Gold is on Prime. Rhea's recommending that, and All American on Netflix. I am highly recommending Beckham on Netflix. And Loki is okay, according to Jay, that on Disney Plus.
And special thanks always to Angelo and Rhea for joining me, Jared Clapper for handling all our social media and production needs. And if you like the show, tell 17 of your friends so that they all listen and we can get more people to join the club and watch TV with us. We'll be back next week. Thank you, gang.